Khan. All praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. Double honor to the elder apostles of the Great Millstone GMS who rule well, who teach well, and salutations to the elect as always. Abba Ratazah, which means Father willing, so Father willing, this lesson is edifying. Breaking news, man, breaking news. Alright, Japan, alright, which is an ally of America, makes a U-turn on Iran after blockade. Okay, ditching the US dollar. Okay, Japan is ditching the US dollar. Alright, and before I play this video on YouTube, I'll just play a few minutes of it. I'm going to get this first. This is the copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, and it reads, Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing, non-profit, educational or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. It's like, yeah, just at the plantation on break right now. So yeah, none of this material is mine. I'm not using it for monetary gain. This is strictly for educational and edification purposes only. It's not my material. Alright, so this is not plagiarism. Once again, this is not my material. This is for educational purposes and edification purposes only, to edify the elect lambs of Yahweh or Yahushai. And I'll put the link to this video in the description box beneath as well.
Tremors through the halls of the in a move that has sent seismic tremors through the halls of the Pentagon and set the global gold market ablaze. The government of Japan, long considered Washington's most obedient and servile vassal in Asia, has just executed a geopolitical U-turn so sharp it risks snapping the axle of the American-led financial order.
What we're learning is that Iran has allowed Japanese vessels through the Strait of Hormuz.
The Iranian government is considering allowing oil tankers to pass through the Strait of Hormuz on one condition. They trade in Chinese yuan.
According to a senior Iranian official cited by CNN, Tehran may permit tanker traffic if oil shipments are traded in Chinese yuan instead of the US dollar.
As the world watches the charred remnants of American credibility smolder in the Persian Gulf, Tokyo has quietly, desperately, and quite brilliantly cut a deal with Tehran that effectively shreds the entire edifice of the Trump administration's maximum pressure campaign. The specifics, confirmed through diplomatic back channels and reported by Kyodo News, are nothing short of a fiscal nightmare for the United States Treasury. Japanese tankers will once again steam through the Strait of Hormuz loaded with Iranian crude, but the greenback, that once almighty symbol of empire, has been shown the door. Japan has agreed to pay for this lifeblood of its economy, not in US dollars, but exclusively in Chinese yuan or the Iranian rial. The implications of this are staggering. For the first time since the end of World War, a core G7 member, a nation that hosts American military bases and has bent its knee to every sanction regime Washington has ever dreamt up, has looked the empire in the eye and said, no, my people need energy to survive, and I will not let your hubris starve them. We are seeing the immediate effects ripple through the global economy as safe haven assets like gold skyrocket.
Wow.
Not just because of war risk, but because of the profound and accelerating fear that the US dollar is being openly, deliberately, and successfully abandoned by its own friends. This isn't a fringe move by BRICS alone.
Fantastic.
This is the defection of a key American satrap.
Yappa.
The desperation in Washington must be palpable. Their sanctions wall has been breached not by a missile, but by a simple, rational decision. Survival trumps servitude. This is the story of how a $2 million toll paid in a rival's currency just bought the world a front row seat to the slow, agonizing death of the petrodollar. Don't just watch this history unfold. Help us overpower the algorithm that tries to bury this reality. If you want to support journalism that doesn't lick the boots of the State Department or the Netanyahu war cabinet, you need to act right now. Smash that like button, drop a comment below, even if it's just a dot, or better yet, tell us what you think about the death of the dollar and subscribe to this channel. The truth is a weapon, and we need to arm everyone we can. Stay with me, because the details of this unraveling are far more intricate and devastating to Western hegemony than you could possibly imagine. Let's get into the gritty, complex, and frankly terrifying economic matrix that drove Japan to this act of near rebellion. We often hear abstract numbers about oil, but let's make this visceral. Japan is the world's third largest economy.
Really?
Yet it is a resource ghost. It is an industrial titan built on a foundation of imported sand and imported fire.
Oh my days, man. Satan.
2025, the numbers were crystal clear. Japan imported roughly 2.46 million barrels of crude oil per
Really?
day. Now, here's the chokehold. Over 95% of that crude, a staggering figure, came from the volatile crucible of the Middle East. And to get that oil to the refineries of Yokohama and Osaka, approximately 93% of Japan's shipping routes pass through a single, narrow, 21-mile wide sliver of water called the
93%.
Strait of Hormuz. That corridor is not an American lake. It is Iranian territorial waters. When the conflict escalated, Japan watched its 254-day strategic reserve
Wow.
begin to bleed out like an open artery.
Jeez. Yeah, you can watch more on that. But Lord willing, this transmission is going through and you can hear that clearly. So, yeah. You can see that everyone is starting to see that Donald Nero Trump is a madman. He's tapped in the head, man, officially. So Japan is like, we're going to ditch the dollar. We're going to pay you on so we can get our oil. A lot of that oil that they get from Iran via the Strait of Hormuz. All right. Yeah, that's where they get them from. But these allies of Babylon the Great are thinking to themselves, this guy's harming us. He's not doing good. He ain't thinking about anyone else. He's harming us. You see? So let's get the book of Obadiah. We'll go to verse 7. All right, a bit cut for time. And it says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. See, all these allies of America will turn against her eventually. The whore. Yeah, the Most High Yahweh has President Donald Nero Trump in a trick bag, man. The deceived and the deceiver he is. Let's go to the book of Daniel chapter 4 verse 17. All right. And it says, this matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High Yahweh ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men. That's E, the so-called W-H-I-T-E, man. Excuse me. All right. And the Lord demonstrated how he can put the worst heathen of them all, E, in a ruling position, in the top position of authority. All right. All these other nations, heathen nations, ruled the earth as well, man. All right. Especially when you think back to the Babylonians, the Assyrians, the ancient Egyptians, the Medo-Persians, the Greeks, the Romans. Yeah. It's all the Lord's doing. He sets up kingdoms and brings them down. All right. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 75. We'll start at verse 6, and it reads, for promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south, but Yahweh is the judge. He putteth down one, and setteth up another. For in the hand of the Lord Yahweh there is a cup, and the wine is red, it is full of mixture, and he poureth out of the same. But the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink them. Right? We know who the wicked of the earth is. E. All right? See? But again, the point is the Lord he brings up kingdom, he raises them up, and he puts them down. All right? You see? Yeah. And all these other heathen nations, man, they're all going into slavery as well. E. The rest of you heathens. All right? For 1,000 years, and then you go back to your lands. Okay? And you'll forever be tributaries, except for E. You're going to be permanently exterminated for good. All right? Let's get a precept in the book of Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 4, and it says, the Lord hath made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. Right? And even the relationship between NATO and the US is not healthy. It's not good at all. All right? Yeah. We're at the end, man, the very, very end. America's about to witness major famines. Gas prices keep increasing. The dollar is collapsing. It's being devalued every day. All right? And they will come through with their new world order. All right? That's what the elites of E desire. All right? So badly, because they're getting up in age. So they do not have much time whatsoever. Okay? Crash the economy. They want everything to go cashless society. Things go digital. All right? And the icing on the cake is the RFID macro C-HIP. You see? See, this is all intentional and pre-orchestrated. All right? See, all these different countries rely on the Strait of Hormuz. All right? Let's get Obadiah, verse 7 again, but we'll get it in another translation. NLT, New Living Translation. Alright, Obadiah verse 7 reads, in the NLT, all your allies will turn against you. They will help to chase you from your land. They will promise you peace while plotting to deceive and destroy you. Your trusted friends will set traps for you and you won't even know about it. Lethal. Yeah, lethal. Let's play a little bit more of this.
The government was forced into the largest emergency oil release in the nation's history since the creation of its stockpile system in 1978, bleeding out 80 million barrels of their strategic reserves in a panic. Let me paint you the picture of that panic. Japan's March import volume collapsed to about 52 million barrels, the lowest level seen since 2013. And that was the good news. Analysts at the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, MEETE, were staring at data projections showing a potential cliff edge for April and beyond, with tankers simply refusing to move without a credible security guarantee from the power that actually controls the waves, Iran. The financial physics were inescapable. Japan imports about 22 trillion yen worth of mineral fuels annually.
Wow.
If they couldn't secure a steady flow, the entire economic engine would seize. We're not just talking about expensive gas at the pump, where prices had already shattered 30-year records to hit over 190 yen per liter. We are talking about the production of medical supplies, the shutdown of factories, and the collapse of the agricultural transport network. The math was simple for Tokyo. Face the wrath of Donald Trump, or face the wrath of a population plunged into cold, dark, hyperinflationary chaos. They chose to keep the lights on. And let's be brutally honest about the history here, because it explains why this betrayal stings Washington so deeply. The relationship between Japan and Iran isn't some fling. It's a marriage of convenience that spans nearly a century, formalized in 1929.
See?
Even during the 1979 hostage crisis, when America was losing its collective mind, Japan didn't flinch. They kept buying Iranian spot market crude because they understood the first rule of statecraft. Energy security is national security. During the 1990s and early 2000s, Iran wasn't just a supplier, it was a cornerstone, consistently ranking as Japan's third largest.
Yeah, I'll put the link to this video in the description box beneath, so I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to say shalom and a bad babal.